on Ethernet?
Huh?
Are you?
That's the computer though. We should be live right now. Check and see.
Yeah.
Huh?
Is the mic off?
What mic? Your mic?
Yeah.
They don't. I got two mics. Just. That's it.
time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Tell me when. Are we live? Are we live?
About to be. We live.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live from New York City. Shall we say we're under construction? We're under construction here at Status Quo. Behind me is a green screen, and Ty is basically making graphics on the fly. So
You got to turn off the AC.
Oh, Ty is basically making graphics for me on the fly. So this is all going to look a lot better once it's all said and done. But we got a green screen now and a big Status Quo logo that I'm blocking. So that's going to be a different logo once we're done.
It'll be like the images.
Right, it'll be some images, but for now we got the logo that I'm blocking. I'm also standing. I'm also standing because I've been basically immobile for the last how long? 5 days. I hurt my back in Detroit, and it takes a lot to keep me in bed, but I've just had real bad shooting pains in my side and buttocks. So I've been icing, got a little medicine, and luckily I got a x-ray yesterday and there's no structural damage. I just pulled a muscle. Because, why did I pull a muscle? Because I jumped over a wall in Detroit 2 months after back surgery. Yeah, so Danny Glover, the great Danny Glover, who was with Cornell West and Nina Turner, they were talking to a bunch of seniors at a senior center on behalf of Bernie Sanders. And when Danny Glover was walking out, you know, he's got a posse around him, a couple handlers. So I was trying to get an interview with him, but I had a lot of people in front of me, and there was like an opening in a wall. So because I was feeling okay at that point, I jumped over that wall because, you know, stupidly, I'm feeling okay, but I'm feeling okay because I had back surgery, but, you know, when you jump over things or you're running so soon after back surgery, not going to do so good. So I jumped over that wall. I didn't get an interview with Danny Glover, if you're watching, Danny. And yeah, now I'm feeling it for a week after. So I'm going to go live for as long as I can today. But I'm standing because I just got a standing desk, which hopefully will help my back in the long term. And a few of you have sent me like...
Hey, that black actually looked good.
Yeah, the black does look good. So thank you to Ty. But we're going to have a different graphic that's not completely blocked, hopefully by next week. So we're using a new system today, so hopefully it works. We'll see. Let me give you the checklist, if you could bring that up, Ty, for the 155 of you watching right now. You know the drill. I need every one of you to smash that like button. This live stream. And if you haven't noticed, YouTube has started with the suppression again. They're not notifying people when we are live. They're unsubscribing people who are subscribed to the channel, and doing a whole lot of other things that I'm looking into. So definitely, there's 160 people watching. Only 77 of you have pressed the like button. Press that like button. If you're watching on your phone, all you got to do is real quick. You're in the live chat on your phone. Press the X. Get out of the live chat for a second. Press the thumbs up button, and then you could go back in the live chat. It makes a big difference in building up the audience size. Become a Status Quo member. We'll get to that in a little bit. Right now, we are at 673 Status Quo members, and I'm not beyond a pity ask. I'm not beyond pity. I am in a lot of pain right now. Ty, how long before did I tell you? I was telling you all day I can't go live today, and then I just decided.
Yeah, like at the last minute he decided to go live, which is good. I thought he should go live.
Right. Come on in. People can't hear you.
I thought he should go live, so I was like, no, you should, and that's good. And plus, it's been a lot going on with the shootings. We've been talking about the coverage of it. It's, to me, I think it's a bit irritating to keep it a note, because you know, we go through this all the time, and then all of a sudden, like you start to see today, not to say that there isn't any other news, but they started to marry a little more news with what happened in Tennessee.
Wait a minute. Jason, this is fake news. I want to tell you what Jason just said. Jason says, where did he go? Oh, sure. Ty asked for a standing desk, and Jordan gives him crap for it being too expensive.
Oh, no, that's absolutely
But when Jordan
right.
needs one.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Ty,
I told him that as soon as I saw it.
Ty wanted the company to buy him a standing desk. I bought my standing desk with my money, not the company's money.
Well, the company, because I'm working all the time and I had the shoulder issue for the company,
Yeah.
so that would be only likely.
Is this company a startup that's still trying to get money?
I'm not saying that it's not.
So, by the way, Ty is staying with me right now, free of rent, Jason. So
wait, no, we know why.
Yeah, we'll talk that.
Don't play games.
We'll talk that. So I bought this desk with my own money, not a hypocrite. Anyway, the other stuff, make sure you sign up for our email list on statusquo.com. And of course, Danny Glover, contact Jordan. Email list and our podcast, Status Quo, on Status Quo Podcast. I don't have the link in front of me, so just Google it. So, if you want to exploit a 5-year-old.
This is my little niece. My other niece came. This is my great niece. Wow. This is my great niece, dog. Because Celica's, my niece, Celica, this is her daughter. Say hi to the people. Say hey. Say it loud so they can hear you. Say hey.
She's nervous.
I know.
So, let's get to it. And remember, press the like button. Remember, press the like button. So, I want to tell you, obviously we covered the shootings in El Paso as well as Dayton, pretty much right when they happened. And what is already striking to me, and you start to see it now, what's already striking to me is it's slowly being changed over to covering like the Iowa State Fair and, Trump's tweeting nasty things at Beto O'Rourke or whatever. You got 31 people murdered in a span of 24 hours. The media is already starting to slowly but surely trickle away. CNN, I guess you could give them credit, did a gun town hall last night. They barely talked about guns. They were talking about mental health. They were talking about video games. They talked a little bit about guns, but not particularly assault rifles and getting rid of those. Not about magazines and, not about this drum that this shooter had in Dayton, Ohio. 100 rounds?
100 rounds.
Had 100 rounds. I think that he could have, fortunately.
Imagine 30 seconds?
I don't think they could hear you. Can they hear you?
Yeah.
Okay. You know guns better than me. How many could he have fired off?
He could have easily. What's up, Mama?
I mean, really, only thing you have to do is do the math. If you think about assault rifles, the reason why assault rifles are way more dangerous and deadly. You gotta come by me because you got the mic. Way more deadly and dangerous than like a handgun is because of the hammer. A Glock or revolver, it's a little harder. The pressure on the trigger. It's with the with a rifle style, with like AK style, it's not an AK, but it's a semi-automatic, which means you gotta, anytime you want to shoot a bullet, you have to push the thing back. That's why the bump stocks was the thing is you go like this, and because of it's so the trigger is so light, the bump stock just continues to go like this by itself because that's how light the trigger is. So because the trigger is light, the velocity of the bullet, the velocity of the bullet, it just goes, and you can just shoot people like that. And it's similar to a automatic, but it's not. It's a semi-automatic, but it's stronger, it's faster, it goes longer distance, and the trigger is lighter. That's the big thing right there. Is the trigger's light. You can just go like this. It's not like bam, 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 bam. It's like, and you can just kind of almost spray people.
Right.
And it was 30 seconds. So you imagine he was killed in 30 seconds. Imagine if he had a minute or two, because he had a lot of ammunition, and that like he had a scary amount of ammunition. And he even killed his sister.
And thank you, Swami Amala. Swami Amala getting us started in the super chat. This is a super chat. I'm feeling dreadful. I'm hopped up on so much medicine right now. You have no idea. So give me some pity super chats if you might. Any amount is appreciated right there in the super chat. We'll read it as soon as we can.
Open the door,
yeah, it's schwitzing in here. Also, great comment from Schultzy 100. I know he might not like it, but he sure does look like Charles Barkley's cousin. Oh, cute. Nice, Ty. He does look like Charles Barkley a little bit, doesn't he? So I guess what I'm saying is, interestingly enough, Ty, if you could get the member thing ready. Interestingly enough, Ty and I, before they canned me at the Young Turks, were actually talking about doing a United Guns of America tour. And what we wanted to do was basically go as far and wide as we can, starting at Columbine, Aurora, the movie theater shooting a couple years ago, obviously Newtown, Parkland, Silver Springs in Texas, Virginia Tech in Virginia. I'm sure we could add as many. I mean, this was with the Young Turks at that time, so we weren't particularly worried about how many places we were going to go. But we wanted to do that because too often with these shootings, it gets a lot of coverage in the first 2-3 days. The same talking points. How do we change this? Mental health, video games. What can we do? And then the media just moves back to whatever distraction President Trump puts out there, and the living victims, who are the people that survived, the people with PTSD, the family members of those who have been killed and lost their life. In this case, 2-year-old, both her parents died jumping in front of bullets in a Walmart in El Paso. In this case, you have 9 people that died in Dayton, but again, it could have been a lot more. What we wanted to do was, I think it's important to put those people on screen, not to exploit them. Obviously, they'd have to be comfortable with that, because it's not like the carnage is over after a day. I mean, there are cities and towns decimated years after this, right? There is families torn apart forever, and you don't see that on CNN or MSNBC. You see for a few days, do these networks actually challenge the politicians and how much money they're taking from the NRA and how empty? I mean, right now we're having a discussion about maybe background checks. In any sane, civilized country, we wouldn't be just talking about background checks. We'd be talking about eliminating these guns from circulation. 20 shootings ago, we would have been talking about that. We would be talking about there is zero reason we should even have online gun shows. Period. We would be talking about why are there drums where you could fire up 100 rounds. And by the way, the Republicans and some Democrats, they cherish the military. We got to give the military $715 billion last year. We got to give the military now, we've increased it to $738 billion. America, fuck yeah. Excuse my French around the 5-year-old. But when the military tells you these guns have no place in society, these guns should not be in citizens' hands. Ted Cruz forgets his love for the military. Donald Trump forgets his love for veterans. Who else? Steve King and Louis Gohmert and all these Republicans who pretend to be for the Second Amendment, they forget that the military could do no wrong. And if the military is suggesting, get these guns out of circulation, well, on this one we disagree, because our NRA overlords tell us to. So we're going to continue to cover this. And, to tell you the truth, funding is always the issue. So right now, if you could put it up, Ty, we're at 673 paying members. So thank you to all our members. We want to go on. We're not just interested in covering the campaign. We want to hit the road. We would like to go cover a lot of these cities and these towns and speak with the family members. Speak with the people that survived. Speak with the people who lost their parents or their sisters or their brothers. Speak with the police that have to keep going to these things. Speak to the bar owners who, I'm not sure, people are flooding into these bars after this happened. Speak with the living victims. That's what we want to do. So you know how to support us. You know how to get us in the field. Statusquo.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. I'm not saying this to piggyback off a tragedy. I think, and why Status Quo exists, you're not going to change anything, and you're certainly not going to apply pressure to the politicians if more people are not woken up to how bad it is 3 months later, 6 months later, a year later, 3 years later. Just like I'm about to talk about Flint 5 years later, these stories don't end just because the cameras leave. That's where the true story actually begins. When I say true story, obviously the true story is what happened that day. But the people whose lives are forever changed, in a lot of cases just ruined, we need to get those stories on camera, because gun violence isn't just about the crime scene. It's about the legacy of the crime and the communities destroyed and the families destroyed. So I would like to do that. I mean, once my back is better, we'll go to as many cities as we could afford. Statusquo.com/join, become a member. We're going to do a promo video in a little bit. Oh, look at that. Getting graphics in there. We're fancy. Very good. We're gonna do a promo video in a little bit to show you a little small Cliff Notes version of our Detroit reporting, where we broke some stories that we were able to go incognito into a Joe Biden debate watch party. So every single member, statusquo.com/join, makes a difference for us to continue covering these important stories. Speaking of important stories, as you know, Ty and I, before Status Quo, went to Flint together a lot. And yeah, at Status Quo, Ty, myself, Jen, we have been in Flint. I don't think there's anything more important. You know, you could talk about your favorite issue or your top issue, whether it's Medicare for all, whether it's the military-industrial complex, climate change, police brutality, you name it. None of it matters if our water is poisoned, because you need water to survive. You can't, if you go, 4 or 5 days without water, you're in trouble. And if you're drinking contaminated water in your supply, wherever you are, it's going to have negative consequences. So we all know what happened in Flint over 5 years ago now. And to preface, because I get a lot of agitation sometimes, I'm aware there's other places with water problems. We're covering as many as we can, as many as possible. But with Flint, you can't take the attention off Flint, because if you take the cameras off Flint, if you take the microphones off Flint, if you stop paying attention to it, then poisoning an entire American city, particularly a majority black city, becomes normalized. And then other states and cities that basically are making the same reckless decisions right now, they say, well, they weren't held accountable in Flint, so whatever, let's just roll the dice. That's why we stay on Flint so much. And if you haven't noticed, and by the way, we got 240 people watching right now. We only got 180 of you who have pressed the like button. Reminder, press that thumbs up button. It's right under the video. If you're watching on your phone, press the X on the live chat for a second, and then press the thumbs up button. You can go back into live chat. That's how YouTube's algorithm works. The more people that press like, the more people that will see that we're live. So press that like button. Even if you don't like me, fake it. So, Flint, we keep being told that the water crisis is basically over. The state of Michigan, we broke the story last summer that they were basically cooking the water testing. They were flushing residents' water lines before taking lead and copper samples. If you just know common sense, when you flush water or you run the water, even for a minute or two, you're flushing out whatever's in there, whether it be high levels of lead, copper, other contaminants. We found they were doing that in dozens of homes. The only reasons we found out is we were crowdfunding. We didn't even have paid membership then. The audience was paying for us to knock on those doors. We knocked on almost 500 doors. Fortunately, Ty and I have met twice with the Michigan Attorney General about not her office and her investigators. So they are currently looking into what we found. So our journalism is making a difference, but Flint is not over. And if you see just today, there is now, over 5 years later, there is now a new boil alert to boil your water before consuming it in Flint. Yet the media tells us, oh, the water's fine in Flint. Isn't that interesting? So let's take a look at this boil alert. What's going on? Ty will get it up in a minute. If I could find it.
Which one is it?
Flint boil alert. So all customers of the Flint City water system are under boil filtered water advisory after a large water main break caused a drop in pressure. A 24-inch water transmission main broke in the area of 12th Street and Van Slyke Road near the General Motors facility. Flint Department of Public Works Director Rob Binsick said a contractor demolishing a bridge broke the water main. Yeah. Crews were working to isolate and shut off the leak, but a large area of the water system lost pressure. A loss of water pressure can cause bacteria to enter the system. So precautionary boil advisories issued. I'm not going to read the rest. They have given these absurd rationales for water mains breaking for years. So let me explain as best as I can. In American cities, there's multiple pipes that get your water to you. So you have, obviously, wherever the main water source is, then it goes through what they call the main. The main are the water pipes underneath the street. So the mains then go to basically your curb. Or if you live in a home, your curb. If you live in an apartment complex, the mains go to wherever the service lines are hooked up. So the mains underneath the street go to the service lines go from your curb, into your water, into the house. So the bottom line is the entire discussion of Flint has been about changing the service lines, meaning the pipes from the curb into the house. That's not the only pipes that were damaged, but that's the only pipes they're talking about. And that's the only pipes that are being replaced. I've spoken with Flint residents. I've talked to plumbers. I've talked to water experts. The mains were just as damaged. The mains underneath the street, the mains were just as damaged as the service lines. And they're not even touching the interior water. They're not even touching the interior plumbing inside the homes. So when this story says there's a boil alert because a contractor did something and ruffled a main. No. There has been a record number of main pipes, the mains under the street in Flint. There's been a record amount of main breaks since the winter of 2014. What happened in 2014? They switched the city to the Flint River without adding the breaking, but you don't have them changing the mains in the street. Why aren't they changing the mains in the street? Before we get to that, how is it that you have toxic water going from the Flint River? It doesn't have the right chemicals in there to prevent lead from leaching off the pipes. How did it just escape? The mains in the bottom of the street escaped the damage? They weren't damaged. That toxic water just skipped over the mains and then damaged the lead service lines. That is what the state of Michigan wants you to believe if you're living in Flint. That is what the government, the EPA, by the way, before Trump, the EPA was in charge of this. The mains are damaged, and that's why they're breaking. So I'm just reading directly from a resident who, unfortunately, like many other residents, has had to become an expert in engineering, lead, bacteria. Basically, why do water mains break? You have age, you have treatment chemicals, you have weather, and you have construction. And then you throw corrosive water in there for 18 months to weaken them further. And what are you left with? A record number of main breaks since the winter of 2016. So and by the way, you start seeing more and more boil water alerts in Flint since 2014, particularly in the summer, because it's hot out and because their pipes are already corroded. So also, by the way, when they tell you to boil the water before drinking that water, just so you know, let me make sure I have this right. Boiling water, it should kill the bacteria that would be in the water due to the main break and the loss of pressure. But you have to filter it first, because boiling the water does not remove all metals. It condenses the metals. And boiling the water does not totally get rid of the bacteria. It should, but it doesn't completely do that. So essentially they are telling the residents of Flint, majority poor, majority black, a lot of poor white people too, but majority poor black, boil your water, but otherwise it's fine. Well, if the mains keep breaking, again, this is not reported on CNN. It's not reported on MSNBC, the New York Times. They've had the most amount of mains breaking since 2014. Why are those mains breaking? Why are those mains breaking? Because they're badly damaged from the acid water that went through them for 18 months. Yet, all we're hearing about is the lead service lines need to be changed. We're not even hearing the lead service lines from the curb into the home. We're not even hearing about the interior plumbing. Are the mains just suddenly breaking because, it's hot out? Or are they breaking because they are badly damaged from that river water? And even before they break, if they're badly damaged, how are you to know if the corrosion in those pipes, I'm talking about the mains, isn't getting into the water supply? This is a real concern for Flint residents. And as Ty and I and Jen showed last year, they're not even doing the testing right. They were cooking the numbers by flushing before they tested. So you have cooked up testing, weakened and corroded and in some cases destroyed pipes underneath the street, yet we're being fed the water's fine in Flint. Well, if the water is fine in Flint, why were we just there in November and people are still getting rashes? Why were we just there last summer and in November and people are still losing their hair? Why are we just there over last summer, exactly a year ago, and in November, and little babies have white blisters in their earlobes, their arms, and their legs who just moved into a home? A month before that, had blisters all over if the water is fine. So, the state would like you to believe, and the EPA would like you to believe, it's all good now. It's also being talked about that they're going to lift the state of emergency that's been in place since, I believe, 2015. They're going to lift that state of emergency when you have a record number of mains breaking, when you have people still getting rashes, when you have people still losing their hair, when you have people I speak with, because I have many, many sources in Flint, literally saying they feel like they're going to pass out when they take a shower. This is an American city. Over 5 years later, the water's fine. Let's get back to what Trump's tweeting. Can we show also the tweets? Because there's people that don't understand what they're talking about that then get on my Twitter feed to tell me, oh no, this is just dandy. This is just fine. Just fine. The Flint River water. This would be like, if Jesus blesses the water, from the water plant, the water comes from, and then it goes through the pipes. Jesus could bless the water, but if it's going through badly damaged pipes, the water is going to be contaminated. So this has been the missing thing.
I think that I don't think they heard that tweet. I think the audio was off. I'm just hearing just that last part when he was tweeting.
So let me read this tweet if you guys missed it. You guys hearing me now? Hold on. 1, 2.
It should be. They should be. They
Is boil alert. Somebody who knows what he's talking about, but doesn't says this is completely separate. This is completely separate from the other issue. And boiling is no effect on lead. This is standard practice. This is standard after a water main is depressurized for repairs. Maintenance anywhere in the country. Stop fear mongering. When pressure is lost, water can flow backwards from house to main. That's sorry to put you on blast, James, but you don't know what you're talking about. Secondly, so Melissa Mays, who's one of the literally there's been a lifetime movie. She's a person. Celebrity played her. That was the Queen Latifah movie. You also have, I mean, she's quoted in pretty much the New York Times, the Washington Post, every story. She's one of the leading activists in Flint. She's been, a lot of powerful people have gone after her, but she's still kicking 5 years later. I really admire Melissa. She responded, "Safety is not fear-mongering. Also, you do not live in Flint, James. Stop telling people what to do or say. Actually, we have had a record number of main breaks every year since 2014 due to corrosion, meaning acid water going through those pipes for 18 months, age, weather, it's very hot, and all sorts of fun reasons. They need to be replaced." So you don't know what you're talking about. And by the way, Flint has had way more main breaks than any other city in America since this happened in 2014. You have that other tweet too that I sent you?
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me, so I got to read it up there.
Is it this one right here? Is that it, or is it this one? You sent me. It was 3, right?
Yeah, 1 second.
So look.
Hold on. 1 sec, folks. We're working out the rough edges here. Remember to press that like button if you will be so kind. So, state of opportunity. You have that one I sent you? That's the hash. That's
State of opportunity?
Yeah. Yeah. Next one.
This is it? Oh, the next one?
Next one over. Yeah, right there.
Wait.
Standard practice for decaying pipelines without proper flow control mechanisms. This is not standard practice for well-maintained or new mains. Stop making excuses for depriving people of basic necessities of life. So I'm sorry to put this guy on blast. But the reason I put him on blast is like a lot of people. They try to explain away what's happening in Flint as just like this has nothing to do with the water crisis, this and that. Why is it that a record number of the main pipes under the street have been breaking since 2014? Is it just a coincidence? So this is why I'm sounding the alarm. They're feeding you a bunch of bullshit that, all that needs to be done is those service lines from the curb into the home need to be replaced. They don't talk about all the interior plumbing in people's homes that have been destroyed, and they don't talk about the mains. You want to know why they don't talk about that? Because they don't want to pay the money to fix it, because the price tag would be astronomical. Also, because Flint is 45% impoverished, majority black, and they don't give a flying fuck. And frankly, excuse my French, we got to call it out, there was some, every time you go to screenshots, we get echo. Please resolve.
Wait, which one? I'm sorry.
Jeremy said, every time you go to a screen share, we get echo.
I just saw it. That's why I was listening to it.
Okay.
I see what's going on.
Yeah. All right. We're using a different program today, so we're working on it.
It's gonna be under control by the next.
It's gonna be under control. So the problem here is, let's keep it real. There was a lot of hope. There was a lot of hope with a Democrat becoming governor and a Democrat becoming attorney general. Well, frankly, they haven't done anything for Flint. This governor, Gretchen Whitmer, said that they were going to restore the water pods in Flint. Those water pods were where the people, poisoned, poor people, could go and get free water. She hasn't done that. It's 9 months into her administration. The Attorney General's office dropped all the charges remaining for the Flint water crisis. There were 8 more cases. They dropped it. They've given you They've given you some reasons they dropped it. They're going to recharge people. As of now, they've dropped it. So you don't have the water pods restored. Right now, people are struggling to get bottled water. Still, over 5 years, you see lines for a mile down the street at churches that are nice enough to hand out whatever donated water that is given from around the country, still over 5 years later. And you want to say, and they're talking about lifting the state of emergency? Let's call this what it is. It's a bunch of poor black people, white people too, being poisoned. The Republican governor and his administration covered it up. And now the Democratic administration is trying to make sure that they don't have to throw any more money at it, because it would ruin their budget for the other things they need to do. Or more simply put, people being poisoned and then left to die. That's what's going on here. And don't take it from me. Breaking news alert, breaking news alert. I don't think the audience has known this.
What?
I'm about to break some news.
What is that? Are you hot?
I am hot, but that's not what I'm going to break. Oh my God, this mic really don't want you talking about this, Jordan? Well, I don't understand the problem. Why are people still...
You good. Go ahead.
So, Status Quo has signed with an agent. We have signed with an agent to get Flushing Flint, our documentary that if you remember, you've seen it by now. To get
That's news to me too.
Yes, I signed the paperwork yesterday. So we have signed with an agent. This is a former HBO executive. And she also used to work at Columbia Pictures. They watched the documentary, which Ty did.
You want to thank Ty?
Did you see this documentary?
That you wanted to thank me. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just thanking you.
So let me just let you guys know.
Yeah, you take over.
I see exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
We have to do some new software, and so that echo is because there's a little thing, but it'll be all worked out. So I see it, and then the little stop was me trying to fix the echo. So we're good though. I see everything that's going on, and I appreciate you guys helping out. But you want to talk about Flint?
Yeah.
Okay, so when
when
you're by there with that mic though, they're gonna hear all that wind. So
I'd rather them hear something than me pass out.
Okay, so you can hear the wind. That's just the AC that he just turned on. It gets really loud with that thing. But it's exciting. That's the lady that. Okay, so.
So basically, why we didn't release the documentary? I'll tell you the behind-the-scenes story.
Tell them the behind-the-scenes.
My older brother, who's I love him, but he's a bit of a capitalist. Not a big fan of his line of thinking. Thinks Jeff Bezos could do no wrong, think Warren Buffett should walk on water. He works in the finance industry, but he's a good guy. Anyway, my brother gives me a lot of crap sometimes, not exactly in love with some of the work we do. But when we were about to release the documentary for everybody, and I sent him the documentary, and my brother called me very frantically. He's like, do not release this. I know I give you crap, but this is one of the best things I've seen, documentary-wise, and considering the crap that is out there on Netflix and Amazon and all these places that put out a lot of crap, he thought that we could get this on a larger platform.
And let them know it's a lot different than the 2-hour one that I think some people saw.
Yeah.
Right?
So Ty has been working on cutting it down a little bit because to get it on, we're going for the fences. So to get it on like an HBO or something like that, it can't be 2 hours. So I know what I know, which is journalism. I know what I don't know, which is like film and how to get a documentary picked up. So ironically, my father, who has a lot of wacky ideas sometimes, and I actually just fought with him this morning. Ty came in my room, why are you screaming? We'll get to that later. He needs to get off the Trump train real quick. Anyway, but he introduced me to somebody who works in the film industry for 20 years. And after I talked to that person a few times, he put me in touch with this former HBO executive who also worked at Columbia Pictures. She's got a lot of contacts. They watched the documentary. They were very moved. I think their reaction was very similar to a lot of people we talked to, and they were like, I can't believe this is still going on. Why doesn't anyone cover this anymore? So their reaction was exactly the type of reaction we want to be. We want the people that we're entrusting to pitch this and get it picked up to be invested in the topic and the project. So yeah, we went back and forth, and now we signed with them. So this is part one. Obviously now they have to get it picked up. There's a lot of different possibilities. You could hope, God willing, an HBO or something like that. But even on a lower item, one of these Hulus or Netflix or a broadcast network, even international. the audio still.
Wait, what's wrong with the audio?
It was, audio is bad. I don't know. Just monitor it. I saw that. So this is step one. We have said to them, it's very important. We don't want this to stretch out for another year. So we're obviously going to swing for the fences and hope to get it picked up on a big outlet. So Ty obviously did the whole thing. So we hope
monitoring it. So don't pay
okay.
attention to the text.
So we're hoping it gets picked up. We have made clear we don't want this to stretch out for another year or two because obviously this can't wait. This important news needs to get out there. But step one is accomplished. We've signed with an agent, and now it's about them. Might make some tweaks to it. We might go there again and shoot some more footage, all that. But I'm glad we held out. I'm glad we held out because now, instead of, of course we want to get it out to the world now, but we're not a mega platform, right? We're about to hit 60,000 subscribers on YouTube, but we want as many eyeballs to see this as possible, not just for Status Quo, but for Flint. Because people need to see this so the alarm could be sounded that it is not over. The water is still not safe. If you're a member and you've seen this documentary, there's people still getting rashes, still losing their hair. We're talking to babies who are forgetting their alphabets. We're talking to babies who are forgetting their numbers. Okay? And why this is so important, if we get it out there that Flint is still a mess, Flint is still a crisis, it puts more eyeballs on all the other cities that have water problems. All the other cities that have, from water to air to mining to oil pipelines, you name it. So that's the goal, and we'll keep you updated as we get some bites on hopefully people wanting to pick up the documentary. So, moving on. Hope everything's doing well with the audio. And as a reminder, why it's so important, why we keep pushing you to become a Status Quo member. Again, statusquo.com/join. Become a member. You can become a member for $5 a month, $10 a month. Why it's so important, we're only able to do this kind of reporting where we're banging on doors, where we're not always going live because we're actually doing something very radical. It's a lost art. It's called investigative reporting. We're only able to do that because we have members contributing every month. We're kind of, I don't want to compare us to Daddy Bernie here, borrowing from Cardi B, Daddy Bernie, but we're trying to grow from the ground up. So we haven't taken one meeting with corporate oligarchs. We haven't taken one meeting with, pharmaceutical people, banking people, Silicon Valley, big pharma, real estate, none of that. We're trying to grow $5 at a time, $10 at a time. So if you're a new subscriber, all you got to do, statusquo.com/join. It's how we fund the reporting that breaks stories like we broke in Flint. It's also how we fund, frankly, I think this is a good segue, what we just did in Detroit. If you noticed, we were in Detroit for 2 days. That's where I hurt my back. Ty actually just put together a pretty poppin' or fly or hot or whatever people say. Cooler than me.
What you black say?
I didn't say it. Promo video. Let's take a look at the work that you are paying for, that you're funding, statusquo.com/join. After this, we're going to have some words for Uncle Joe Biden.
Put your thing on me.
Behind me is Goliath. Behind me is the occupying force that is CNN. And we are what you would call the have-nots here at the Detroit Democratic presidential debate.
Biden is still coasting towards victory right now, and everyone says, oh, he's going to fall off, he's going to disappear. We should not underestimate the inertia of just low information voters voting for Biden.
You should be able to, if you cross the border, but they don't, that they have to wait in line. And it's not one that, in fact...
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Vice President, there's a saying in my community, you're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor.
I find it a little troubling that it started with full people. And now, I mean, it's like 60% empty. Doesn't seem like a ton of enthusiasm here for Biden.
No, I don't think nobody paying attention. The sound could have something to do with it, but everybody just left.
So what they're trying to do is push this not factual thing that I don't know if those moderate voters in the Midwest, those will go for a Bernie Sanders. Those moderate voters are more attractive to someone like a Joe Biden.
Since the 1970s, every crime bill, major and minor, has had his name on it.
It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask, what made them do this?
You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. And in fact, I drafted the bill, as you remember.
I know that.
This idea is a bunch of malarkey.
What was your favorite line of Biden tonight?
I'm very glad he said malarkey once again.
So anything on policy or substance, or just malarkey?
Oh, just malarkey. I mean, honestly, I haven't been that impressed, I'll be completely honest.
By Biden?
No, not really.
If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330.
If the Midwest is moderate, why is Hillary Clinton not President Clinton right now? Oh, we got a Trump supporter here. There you are. I love President Trump. Hey, I want to come over and interview you after this. Is that okay? Okay. So we got, this is like a Home Improvement where the neighbor was behind the thing. So there's a Trump supporter. The Midwest is not so moderate. Donald Trump was proposing economically, wait for it, progressive policies. Donald Trump said on the campaign trail, it's not such a Republican thing, but we got to cover everybody. Universal health care for everybody. Donald Trump said, enough with these wars. We're spending trillions and trillions of dollars on these wars. We got to get out. CNN hasn't covered that in the last 3 months. He also got him on trade, TRADE. Joe Biden not only voted for NAFTA, Joe Biden was pushing the TPP in 2016. Hillary Clinton called TPP the gold standard in 2011. TPP and NAFTA was a huge reason Hillary Clinton lost. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Rachel Maddow. Sorry to disappoint you, my friends at the Young Turks. It wasn't Putin.
How would you ensure that the United States is able to remain competitive against China on the world stage?
By pushing for fair trade, not trade deals that give away the sovereignty of the American people and our country, that give away American jobs, and that threaten our environment. These are the three main issues with that massive trade deal, the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
There's a big climate march here at around 4 o'clock Eastern that we're definitely going to go to. It is kind of being branded as making Detroit the engine of a Green New Deal. Obviously, if you know American history a little bit, Detroit was once the engine of the automobile industry, manufacturing, a lot of the great migration from the South, where African Americans came up to Detroit and Flint because they could get good union jobs working in automobile factories. That, of course, is no more, thanks to a lot of the folks on stage today and the ideology they embrace.
For decades, we have kicked the can down the road on climate change, and now under Donald Trump, we face a looming catastrophe.
I got kids. I have an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old, and I look at all these young people who don't have any future. It's no wonder that there's an epidemic of depression and anxiety. Guess what? It's not social media that's doing it. It's what they know about what's happening in the world that's doing it. That's why young people are anxious, as we all should be.
Where the Green New Deal is providing what people need. We need an economic bill of rights, jobs, income, housing, healthcare, education, retirement. And then we need to transform the economy so we're not destroying the ecology. I mean, climate change is not just stronger storms and more heat waves. It means ecosystem collapse, food production collapse, mass environmental refugees, mass starvation. I mean, this is an existential threat.
You got Kamala Harris, who just released a health care plan that is not Medicare for all. As I told you months and months and months ago, she's going to moonwalk faster than Michael Jackson away from Medicare for All because her donors, i.e. Hillary Clinton's donors, said her, no. You're not getting rid of Medicare. You're not getting rid of private insurance. You could talk progressive, Miss Harris, but you're certainly not doing a single-payer system and taking our money.
I designed a plan where, yes, responsive to the needs of American families, there will be a public plan under my plan for Medicare and a private plan.
Kamala Harris just talked about Kathleen Sebelius, who helped write her bill. This just pointed to the fatal flaw in her proposal. Sebelius works for Medicare Advantage, private insurance company who will stand to profit under her plan.
Ironically, what CNN did was basically give us credentials to the parking lot here. So we have credentials. This is what they call Media Row. Media Row is where the media, I guess, broadcasts. And this is the elite media behind us. So CNN is live right now with all their pundits, pontificating about who's more electable, talking about poll numbers, even though they cherry pick all the polls to elevate the establishment and knock down progressives like Bernie Sanders. Mel came up to me and told me something I wasn't surprised by because I saw a lot of this in 2016. But apparently CNN was definitely exercising some selective coverage.
I don't even think I see any Biden supporters, but next thing you know, I just see Biden signs everywhere, even inside the visibility zone, where people weren't even in that. It wasn't even people under yet.
You know, the reparations issue, on reparations, she's by far the standout. She comes out ahead on that issue by alone. I mean, I do a lot of work with restorative justice, and just the frame within that is actually important. It's, it's restoring the harm that was done with that. That's the whole crux of reparation by itself.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statusquo.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statusquo.com/join. And remember, so that was our time in Detroit, 2 days, and for half of it I couldn't walk. But Ty did some heavy lifting when I couldn't walk, and we are obviously very excited about. We grew a little bit while we were in Detroit. We were able to break a story. Good things happen when you're in the field. We would have never been able to break the story that you just saw, that CNN was literally directing police to not let Bernie Sanders supporters in the area where candidates and supporters can stand waving their signs. That's why on screen you saw a sea of Elizabeth Warren signs and big signs, and then like off to the side was like a couple Bernie Sanders people, which the CNN camera like immediately shifted away. This is not covered anywhere else because the rest of the media is literally inside the building, frankly circle jerking each other and talking about electability, and the pundits who are totally out of touch and have no idea what the masses are actually feeling or dealing with. They don't go outside and interview anyone. So luckily, because we were denied credentials again, as you saw, we were literally, it was almost like CNN was like just trying to mock us and kind of give us a little insult to injury. They gave us credentials to basically stand in the parking lot. We had credentials for what they call Media Row, and Media Row is right there in the parking lot. So whatever, life gives you lemons, make lemonade. We did the best we could, but fortunately, because we were out there, we were able to break the story that there was literally 200 people, most of which were Bernie Sanders supporters, that were not allowed into that area where the candidate supporters stand with their signs. And then those Bernie people were telling us the CNN camera were intentionally like moving the camera away as soon as it came to Bernie Sanders supporters, which we were able to then go through the footage and find. That's scandalous. It's literally a news network working as a political arm for the corporate Democratic establishment. They were letting Elizabeth Warren people in with mega signs, which they prominently showed on CNN to make it look like Warren has the mojo, Warren's, has all the support here. And they would let Bernie Sanders people in with little mini signs, and Bernie Sanders people who were wearing the shirt that says Bernie were said you can't come in with that shirt. This is at a television news debate that CNN was basically working no differently than what you would expect from political campaigns. So that's why it's so important. If you're not a member, sign up. statusquo.com/join. Statusquo.com/join. We would like to go to the Houston debate in September. Right now, it's kind of on the bubble if we're going to. We got to get that membership up. We're at 673 members right now. Again, $5 a month. We got plans at $10 a month. We also have plans at $179 annually. Become a member, statusquo.com/join. You could do it for as low as a cup of coffee or a sandwich. We promise it's worth it. So I want to move on to one more story. I'm going to kind of speed through it a little bit. I'm a little late because I've been in pain, but Joe Biden, who I've said is Hillary Clinton with different body parts, it is a disaster. Joe Biden as the nominee will be a disaster. Trump will cruise to re-election. And I've said it over and over again. I've backed it up with facts. But I think what I'm about to show you is probably the worst part of Joe Biden that makes him more vulnerable, frankly, than even Hillary Clinton was in states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio. So let's play the clip, if you have it, Ty, from the debate where middle-class Joe, union guy Joe, is straight up just lying about his support for the TPP, which, of course, was a little different than NAFTA, but basically a NAFTA-like trade deal that would crush. If you think the Midwest, the Rust Belt, and other parts of America have already been crushed by NAFTA, this would put the final nail in the coffin. Let's see what Joe had to say about if he's going to re-implement NAFTA as president, TPP as president.
Not rejoin the TPP as it was initially put forward. I would insist that we renegotiate pieces of that with the Pacific nations that we had in South America and North America.
Since 1963, when we passed the Equal Pay Act, we have been talking about the fact women are not paid equally for equal work.
Would you or would you not rejoin the TPP, yes or no?
I would not rejoin the TPP as it was initially put forward. I would insist that we renegotiate pieces of that with the Pacific nations that we had in South America and North America.
Since 1963, when we passed the Equal Pay equally for equal work. Would you?
So Joe Biden is going to renegotiate the TPP. He's going to renegotiate the TPP. Okay? Well, let's take a look at 2016 when he was basically begging Hillary Clinton when she was running to back the TPP. Right here, you got Biden challenges Clinton to back the TPP as Obama sends it to Congress. This is summer of 2016 when Hillary Clinton is running.
Where is that?
Right to your left. Go over a few.
Right here?
No, to the right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So Biden, who's talking about renegotiating it, well, he wasn't saying it needed to be renegotiated when he was trying to ram it through in 2016. In a challenge to Hillary Clinton, Vice President Joe Biden said that the next administration must push for Senate approval of the controversial Trans-Pacific Trade Treaty to make sure the United States keeps access to Asian markets. Biden, presenting recommendations for the next administration in a bylined article in Foreign Affairs, said that President Obama's successor must build on treaties and initiatives pushed over the past 8 years. The magazine sent out a pre-release of his article printed in the upcoming edition. TPP is extremely controversial. Clinton has come out in opposition to the trade deal after she called it the gold standard 3 years before that. Donald Trump is against it, blah, 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 blah. So Joe Biden as vice president in 2016. So this is just like 3.5 years ago.
We fixed the echo problem.
Oh, perfect. Joe Biden as vice president just 3 years ago. He wasn't saying, oh, we think this needs to be renegotiated. This needs to be renegotiated. No. He was saying, let's get this going in its current form. Let's get it going in this current form. Then you have Joe Biden today, modern day, 3 years later. You don't hear this on CNN. You got the thing queued up, the advisory council one.
The advisory council? Okay.
Modern day, Joe Biden has somebody that did a fundraiser for him in San Francisco by the name of Wade Randlett. Wade Randlett, who's a mega millionaire out of San Francisco. Wade Randlett, if you scroll down, Ty, this document is President Obama's advisory committee for the TPP. This document here. And what do they say at the bottom?
We're at the bottom?
It is, no, go up. Go up. No, up. Towards, yeah. So it is clear that all signatories had to accept compromises across a number of areas in order to reach a final agreement. A majority of this advisory committee believes, on balance, the TPP is a strong agreement that conforms to U.S. priorities to liberalize trade and investment rules to open new markets, and we commend U.S. Trade Representative Mike Froman for his leadership. The supporting this board members are confident that it will have greater impact than other U.S. trade agreements on U.S. exports. And then you have all the people that signed, including Wade Randlett. Wade Randlett, again, mega millionaire from San Francisco, who is doing fundraisers for Joe Biden. So let me get this straight. Why is this guy giving lots of money and organizing $2,800 plates? $2,800 is the max donation level for Joe Biden, the same guy who is on President Obama's advisory board that recommended the TPP. Do you think he's just giving the money out of kindness, or does he want that Trans-Pacific trade deal signed because he'll make money off of it? So let me get this straight. In 2016, the Democrats ran a pro-TPP, somebody who supported NAFTA, talking about Hillary Clinton, somebody who called the TPP the gold standard, somebody who takes a hell of a lot of money from Wall Street banks and wouldn't give the transcripts of her private speeches, against Donald Trump with the strategy, let's just call Trump the Antichrist. That will be enough. We don't need to, they won't focus on my record. How'd that work out? How's President Clinton doing? Do you think once Donald Trump starts nicknaming, now it's Sleepy Joe, wait till he starts nicknaming him TPP Joe, NAFTA Joe. By the way, let's go to the NAFTA one. Biden doesn't regret NAFTA vote. It made sense at the moment. Right there.
Right.
Next one. Over to the right. Biden doesn't regret NAFTA vote. This was from May of this year. Presidential Democratic candidate. Just like the bankruptcy bill, which was a giant sexual favor to credit card companies. Must have made sense in the moment. Iceberg right ahead. This is the Titanic right ahead. And if you, frankly, folks, if you don't live there, I'm sorry, but I got to keep it real. This is not the United States election. This election is going to be won or lost. Again, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, I think North Carolina could possibly be in play. And I also think, shockingly, Arizona might be in play because of the immigration issue and what Trump is doing. So, bottom line, you have a guy that's pretending I'm going to renegotiate TPP. No, he's not. Maybe he'll change a sentence or two, and then he's going to ram it through. And if you are somebody who's been negatively impacted by deindustrialization, if you are somebody who used to be working with your hands in manufacturing and now you have to drive Ubers or Lyfts because all the manufacturing jobs have gone, I am here to tell you, the TPP, if NAFTA was like the shovel, TPP is the grave. Thank you, I'm a communist. $10 in the super chat. So, and no one is calling out Joe Biden on his lies. Nobody is saying, well, wait a minute, why are you doing fundraisers with people that were on Obama's TPP advisory committee, right? What do you mean you're going to renegotiate it? How are you going to renegotiate it to protect against more and more offshoring of jobs? He doesn't have the answers because he's a fake union guy. He don't give a damn about workers. He don't give a damn about the unions. He's sitting here, oh, the unions fought hard for their health care. We're going to take their health care away. Him fear-mongering about Bernie's Medicare for All. Don't you think the unions would love if they had government health care so that was one issue that you could take out of the equation? So they don't have to worry about, well, I have to give up wages or other benefits for decent health care. Joe Biden is lying to workers. And if you've seen my interviews with Biden supporters, if you've seen Marcus's interviews with Biden supporters, I love my elders, but a lot of these older people, I don't want to say they're stupid, because they're not, but they're very, very ignorant about what this man wants to do or how it's going to affect the younger generation. Because TPP, I'm telling you, if he becomes president, if he becomes the nominee, Donald Trump is going to hammer Joe Biden on TPP. To the point where people in the Midwest, you see Joe Biden right now up 10 points in Michigan, up against Trump in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. I promise you those numbers are going to go down because Joe Biden did vote for NAFTA. Joe Biden is for the TPP. His words are right there in 2016, writing an op-ed about how the TPP needs to happen, how it's going to be great for workers. That was just 3 years ago. And by the way, contrary to what CNN, MSNBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times tell you, Putin was not why Donald Trump won. If you look at the exit polls in every state, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ohio, the top two issues, trade, that would be NAFTA and the TPP, and immigration. So the pundits are talking about electability. I'm telling you the facts. This man is not electable, frankly. I think he's going to lose worse than Hillary Clinton lost. Hillary Clinton, she did lose those 3 states, but she only lost by 77,000 votes. I think he would lose worse. And frankly, if you watch him enough, I don't say this because I don't like him. I say it just factually. He looks like he needs a nap at 11 a.m. And you might think, Jordan, that's a low blow. It's the truth. He's stuttering his words. He's cognitively not all there. And in fairness,
he gets bullied in the debates too.
And in fairness, this happens as you get older. I was just talking to someone yesterday. There's a big transition in your mind once you hit 70 years old. And between that 70 and 80, that's why, honestly, I think it's even, forget whether you like Bernie or don't, you think he's a communist or whatever. The man has more energy than I at 32 do. He's playing basketball in arcades the other day. He's barnstorming the country. Joe Biden, when we get alerts what he's up to on the campaign trail, most days it says meeting with advisors. Meeting with advisors. About what? Where are they meeting? That means he's sitting at home because he can't take the travel schedule. So I got news for you. This is a train wreck waiting to happen. I don't care what the polls say right now. The polls said Donald Trump had no chance of winning the Republican nomination. The polls said Hillary Clinton was going to win by 7 to 10 points on Election Day. You know, the New York Times gave Hillary Clinton a 99% chance on election morning. You remember Cenk, my old boss, was literally panting. It looked like he was going to have a heart attack as that went down and down and down. Wish I was there. Train wreck. So as I end today, thanks for working with us this week. My back is messed up, so I haven't been live for a few days. We just used this new program today, so we're working out some of the kinks. We're going to try to get all the audio. We're going to try to get the audio totally good for next time. We're going to try to have, Ty go a little quicker on finding things.
Well, you got to understand,
Yeah, let's make an excuse.
First off, no, it's not an excuse. Look, come here. When you first start off something like that, you're used to doing it yourself, and I'm not used to doing it. So there's going to be a point where we have to, until we get in the rhythm where we know how to go back and forth with each other. Like when if you're used to doing that and you get it right when you want to get it, and now you got to relay it to me, we're going to do that. It's different. You got to. There's a hiatus period where you work the kinks out. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do. We just working the kinks out.
And how is it living here?
Huh?
How's it living here?
So I don't sleep much. I just been working, and Jordan has me like a backyard slave out here. And hold on, why is this one thing? But yeah, no, it's cool. I got to get used to it. I've been working all week, so I really ain't had time to like see the city. But my little niece is here, and my little great niece. Jesus, I'm gonna just say niece because I ain't that old. My little niece is here, so we're gonna hang out today. But the city's cool. I gotta get used to it. You know what I'm saying?
You enjoying the free rent?
Am I enjoying the free rent? Are you enjoying the free service?
What service?
Huh? The service that I'm giving you.
Do you get paid?
Huh?
Do you get
half
paid?
of what I should.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you. Okay.
Half of what
so
you
let's get it right.
Okay, interesting.
While you talking.
So.
And he's dealing with the heat. We can't have it. Well, you do have the AC on.
And the sirens are coming for him because he's such a liar. So, lastly, We'll get everything worked out. We're going to also have a great graphic behind me. Right now we get the logo, but we're going to do some other things. I'm also not going to be standing. I'm standing because I literally...
We got chairs. We just
I can't sit right now without paying.
It's going to be a little wider so we can get all the graphics.
Yeah, but most importantly, I don't know if you could show this, Ty.
What?
We're about to hit 60,000 subscribers. Do you know we just passed 50,000 subscribers like 3 weeks ago? We're about to hit 60,000. So much love to the original subscribers and the new subscribers. And again, there's 260 of you watching right now. For those of you that have not signed up as members yet, obviously if you can, if you don't know if you're going to keep the lights on this month, we get it, no problem. Just keep watching, sharing, all that stuff. But if you got, 1 cup of coffee a month that you could give to us, $5 a month. If you got $10 a month, we also have an annual plan, $179 annually. It makes such a big difference, and it's also, frankly, the more members we get to sign up, the easier it is to get larger funding, which we're also trying to do from progressive sources, not those dirty Democratic Party donors, Republican donors, and all the plutocrats of America destroying your country. Thank you for watching. I think I'm going to see you tomorrow if my back is feeling okay, and if not, I'll see you next week. But we are definitely still on the upkeep. And we're trying to, Jimmy about to hit 600,000. Why you got to rub that in, that we only have 60,000, that Jimmy has 600,000. Yeah, so get into Jimmy's live chat and tell people subscribe to Status Quo. But 60,000 is very good for us considering we've been suppressed pretty much the whole time we've been live. Thank you for